Today, Group C GTP Racing is celebrating the silver jubilee of this iconic Porsche. And among 82 Group C cars brought together at the home of the British Grand Prix are no less than 25 of them. Some racing, some on show. At the Bonham Silverstone Classic weekend, where more than 2,800 classic cars represent 50 marks. Well, for Derek Bell, it's the chance to be reunited with some of the factory cars which he drove to 3 Le Mans 24-hour wins and to 2 World Driver titles. In the second of 2 races this weekend, he'll share Mark Sumpter's 1989 US Porsche up against Silk Cut Jaguar, Nissan, Spice, Ecos, Mazda, among 30 cars from the golden age of sports car racing.
No, it's fantastic. I mean, to get the chance to go back in one of the old beauties, although they're not that old. They really didn't finish till the mid-90s or early 90s. So, you know, it's spectacular to get back in with such a good one with Mark and have a chance to sort of do quite well, I hope.
Derek, at Brands Hatch, we talked about the golden age of sports car racing, and we agreed this is it. I mean, how good is it to drive these cars?
Well, to us it's it. I hope it is it, because I can't see anything happening at the moment that's that golden. But, I mean, to drive them, it was fantastic. It still is. And even when I went out yesterday, I mean, I haven't driven here, I think, since 1988 or something in a race. No, probably about 94 in a McLaren, actually. But not, you know, still 15 years ago, something like that. And then to get back in the car yesterday, I mean, it had so much grip, so much power. And it's really serious to drive. I mean, you know, heavy steering, because there's no power steering in that era. Now they sit there with power steering in their cars, which they need. And the Porsche was really a sort of a hard man's car to drive. I mean, you had to be fit and very strong.
5 times Le Mans winner, World Sports Car Champion, all that was of factory Porsche cars, but that wasn't the only 956s, 962s he drove, was it?
No, I mean, I drove lots of them. In fact, my first win was in a Mirage, remember, the Ford at Le Mans. So I did have 4 Le Mans, and I had 3 Daytonas in the Porsche. So Porsche did a lot of wins for me, thanks very much.
What were your feelings when you got back in this car for qualifying?
Well, that was a strange thing yesterday. I mean, I got in it, didn't know the circuit intimately, and the car I knew intimately, obviously, over the years. It was just like an old friend, you know, and I just sat in there, and I went out and I got around the second lap, and I'm going, what are you doing? You're really on the limit, and you've never sat in the car before, but it's just that I felt so at home with it that I drove it as fast as I could. Admittedly, at that point, it probably wasn't the quickest lap, but 2 or 3 later, I did do a quick lap. And I mean, it's just magnificent. I mean, all of them are so wonderful to drive, and Porsche, you know, deserve a great accolade for all they've done in producing all these cars when you think how many we had out there yesterday in the parade, you know.
Well, thousands of fans make the most of the first sunny weekend of the British summer to see the classics close up and hands-on, and to enjoy no less than 22 races on a packed 3-day programme. Well, for Saturday's Group C GTP 30-minute one-driver race 1, 3 times 2007 winner Sumpter starts from pole ahead of David Mercer's well-sorted C1 Spice Cosworth, with behind them American brand of Reese's intrepid Chevrolet GTP, just ahead of the turbocharged Silk Cut XJR11 of Gary Pearson and the Bud Light XJR16 of Richard Eyre. Well, Sumpter puts the number 7 FAT Turbo Express 962, the car which gave Porsche its last ever Group C win at Dijon in 1989, straight into the lead from Mercer and De Vries at the head of the 29-car field. Porsche specialist Mark won at the Nürburgring and in both of the Le Mans Bugatti races, so he's aiming for his 4th successive victory today. Mercer stays second, but Pearson is under threat from the V12 Silk Cut Jaguar of Justin Law. John Edwards is an early spinner in his Harrier DFL. The 5-kilometre Silverstone Grand Prix circuit very much favours turbo cars, and Sumpter's able to edge out his lead as Law moves into 3rd ahead of Pearson. Rob Sherrard is running strongly in his Joest Blaupunkt Porsche, the only honeycomb chassis 962 which Joest was to order. Tony Wood's race in the Swift Aircross comes to an end in the Luffield gravel as he beaches Pat. Sumpter has increased his lead over Mercer, Law and Pearson. And Nick Rinney has his Bud Light XJR 12D GTP car running in the top 10. Richard Oddy's race will end with his Argo Chevrolet GTP car buried in the Copse barriers after missing his braking point. Edwards has rejoined after his spin, now down in 20th. Well, Sumpter seems to be well in control, with Mercer still second from Lauren Pearson, but that's about to change. The leader has a coming together with the back marker at Stowe, which punctures 2 tyres and costs him laps. And Pearson will jump both Law and Mercer to snatch the lead. A glorious mixture. Nissan, Aston Martin and Leighton House Porsche, all iconic cars of their period. Brands Hatch winner Andy Purdy is running a steady 7th in the Richard Lloyd Racing 962C, another car which Derek Bell drove in its heyday along with Tiff Niddell. Charlie Agg's ex-factory Nissan R90CK went to Japan and became double Group C champion there. Now he's locked in battle with Law's XJR12 for 3rd place, which will end with a clash which sends the From A car spinning down to 6th. The other Nissan, Henry Pearman's 1990 Le Mans car, is having a spirited battle with Sherrod's Blaupunkt 962 and Lady Racer Janine Payne's Leighton House Porsche, but it's the last we'll see of the Blaupunkt car. It loses its engine, or as the Australian says, puts a leg out of bed. Local man Gary Pearson is about to take victory, 5 seconds clear of 2nd place Mercer. The checkered flies, and Pearson wins from David Mercer with another 12 seconds back to Justin Law in 3rd and Brian de Vries in 4th in his Intrepid. Ian Stinton wins C2 in his 1986 factory Spice Cosworth, a lap ahead of the 2nd place Tacos of Alistair McCaig. For the many Group C fans here, the win recalls Martin Brundle and Alain Ferte's victory at Silverstone in 1990 at the wheel of a similar car.
Gary, you saw a lot going on in front of you.
Yeah, I think Mark Sumpter disappeared, so he left the 3 of us to have our own excitement. Yeah, we had a good ding-dong between us. Really good race.
At what stage did you know that Mark was out of it?
I don't know, probably 3 laps from the end. Saw him going slowly through the complex with sort of smoke going off the front wheel. So I thought he probably put his brakes or something. But yeah, that's when I knew it was over for him. So.
Back to Silverstone for race 2 for Group C GTP, the biggest gathering ever of the 1980s and 1990s sports cars, headlining Britain's biggest classic car weekend of the year. And one of the highlights is a parade around the circuit of every Group C runner here at Silverstone Circuit, and Group C GTP Racing bid to make the Guinness Book of Records. This is also a chance for drivers to give their crew members or partners the thrill of a lifetime. These are, after all, 2-seater cars. Well, Silverstone's Club Straight becomes the focal point for fans as 82 cars are lined up in echelon, representing not only Porsche and Jaguar, but Lancia, Nissan, Spice, Mazda, Aston Martin, Ford, Argo, Intrepid, Ecos, Tiger, Barden and Harrier. Only Mercedes and Toyota are missing from this billion-dollar roll call. Well, Porsche dominated Le Mans throughout the 1980s until the arrival of Tom Walkinshaw's Jaguar V12 squad, although it took 3 years to dislodge the German factory cars from the top step of the podium. Well, that was in 1988, and with 10 TWR Jaguars here at Silverstone, marking the first time that all 6 XJR9s have been gathered together in one place. Well, one member of that winning 24 Hours crew is back to join in the celebrations, along with his winning car, Briton Andy Wallace, who's showing Justin Law's racer in race 2. Lancia 2 is here, as well as familiar C2 cars and not so familiar GTP cars. Now, one man enjoying his visit to Silverstone is Kramer Porsche owner Kent Abrahamson from Sweden. Another is Jaguar owner Derek Hood, whose XJR11 won race 1 with Gary Pearson. We talked to both. Kent first.
You enjoying the weekend?
Fantastic weekend. And have you seen the exhibit of Group C cars? I mean, there's 70 cars up there. It's fantastic. Yeah. And the whole thing is fantastic. A lot of people and a lot of different things.
Derek Hood of JD Classics, slightly different side for you. You own the cars, you don't drive them yourself.
Right.
You get others to do it for you.
So I didn't get that. I didn't get that. Sorry.
You get others to drive for you. That's the clever part.
I do get others to drive. That's right. I'd rather sit on the wall and watch a good driver go round. Yeah.
Now, you had the win yesterday, of course, in this number 4 car, 1990 Silk Cut Jaguar. Tell us about the car.
The car itself is, as I say, there's the ex Andy Wallace, Jan Lambert's car. It did very well in period. I ended up buying the car about 7 years ago, and we'd learnt the hard way with the technology side of the car.
This isn't the only Group C car you have, is it?
No, I own all 3 of the XJR11s. I have a ex-Le Mans XJR9, and I also have an IMSA XJR10. Yeah.
This keeps you busy.
Very much so, yes. It's just a hobby gone crazy, really. Yeah.
How many staff do you need to keep these cars running? Because they are complex, aren't they?
Yeah. During the run-up to a meeting, we have 5 guys working on the car. We actually strip the car down, make sure it's all safe, make sure there's no wear and tear, and we just put it back together again.
Running in class GTP 2.
An even bigger crowd for Sunday's race 2, which is over 40 minutes with a mandatory pit stop and a driver change if there are 2, as in the case of Pullman Sumpter, who will hand over to Bell mid-distance. Well, the grid is the same as for race 1, but Laura's showing his Jaguar with Wallace and Henry Pearman his Nissan with another Group C veteran, Mike Wilds. From the lights, Sumpter and Mercer are neck and neck down to Copse, where they collide, and the Porsche spins, starting a chain reaction which involves 5 cars. Eliminated on the spot are Freddie Kumchik's Spice and Abrahamson's ERC Kramer Porsche. Others, including Richard Hepworth's Harrier DFL, will limp around with various degrees of damage. Richard Ayres' Bud Light Jaguar is involved in another incident and is out too on this frantic first lap. This is not what the drivers and owners of these beautiful cars go racing for. Well, Mercer makes the most of it, leading Pearson, Law having been delayed along with Sumpter, and Charlie Aggs Nissan. Well, both Law, here battling with Mike Wilds in the Nissan 90CK, and Sumpter start comeback drives. There's still yellows at Copse as Pearson pursues Mercer. A lap later, he's passed into the lead as Ag follows in third, Andy Purdy in fourth, and Brian de Vries in fifth. There's another big battle going on behind. Richard Bateman's Tiger ahead of Duncan Mackay's Barden, Jim Loftus's Mazda 757, and another Group C veteran, David Leslie, in Brian Wingfield's 1982 Ford C100. Leslie in the yellow Ford is about to take the lot through the Vale, but will soon be out with a jammed throttle. An inspired Sumpter has charged back through the field, setting fastest lap of the race, and is now with Mercer and Law, who's gone ahead of the Spice into second. Initial leader Pearson has lost power with an electrical fault and has dropped back to fifth. On lap 8, Sumpter's back in the lead, Mercer now fourth and Ag fifth. Purdy takes sixth from the ailing Pearson. Just as Mercer pulls off a long hanger straight with no power. And de Vries inherits fourth in the thundering Intrepid Chevrolet. Well, Purdy, whose Brands Hatchwing came on his 23rd birthday, is now fifth as he laps the C2 Ecos of Alistair McCaig, again running second in class behind the Swift Air Ecos of Tony Wood, who will go on to win. Ag is having another trouble-free race in the yellow Nissan, unlike Pearson, who's now heading for the pits, with the misfire getting worse. Well, American Jim Mullen won the 1983 Sebring 12 Hours for Porsche and is sharing his Spice Chevrolet with Mark Gillis this weekend. Mark has just moved into fourth behind Ag. Sumpter's just handed over the lead car to Derek Bell, but DB's reporting the car does not feel right, and when the front splitter snaps off at 190 miles per hour on Hanger Straight, he retires to the pits. The damage, a legacy from that first corner. Pit stops finished, Purdy finds himself a surprise leader in the 1988 RLR Porsche because Law's Jaguar is also out. Andy Wallace reporting an oil pressure warning soon after taking over. That puts Ag into second. And Mark Gillis into third after a great run in the GTP Spice, the last to be built. Here he laps Pearman's Nissan, which Henry and Mike Wilds have steered to sixth place behind Brian de Vries' Intrepid and Nick Rinney's Bud Light's Jaguar. The checkered flag flies, giving Andy Purdy his second win of the season after an extraordinary race. Of the 23 starters, just 12 have made the finish. And Richard Lloyd is the first to greet Purdy as he climbs from his Porsche car's GB 962C, the car Lloyd built in 1988. We talked to Andy.
Andy Purdy, this is getting to be a habit. And who was here to greet you as you pulled up, winning at Silverstone?
Well, first of all, I came in and thought I was second. And then I came in and Richard basically welcomed me, and then I mean it's great to have the guy that actually created and ran the car in period, and then to find out I was first on top of that was even better. I mean I was just driving around, I got P1 plus 20, and idiotically I thought it was me 20 seconds behind first, but never mind. But no, it was a great race. I'm glad it ended in the end because I was quite hot in that car. I did 2 stints on my own. I wasn't sharing this time, but out there with 2 Le Mans winners as well, Andy Wallace and Derek Bell. I mean, that's a big tick in the box, so to speak. Not saying I beat them outright. I wouldn't like to put that on the record.